Good day, esteemed viewers. We have something interesting for you, and it goes as follows. What volume of oxygen will remain after reacting 8 cm cube of hydrogen gas with 20 cm cube of oxygen gas? A. 10 cm cube, B. 12 cm cube, D. 14 cm cube, and D. 16 cm cube. This question actually borders on excess and limiting reactants, or we can make do with Gay-Lussac's law of combining volumes. Okay, either of them, either way, we still get our correct answer. And I love this question because it made it clear that oxygen is the excess reactant. Okay, made it clear here, and even in the volume supplied, oxygen is 20, hydrogen is 8 cm cube. So indeed, oxygen is the excess reactant, while hydrogen is a limiting reactant. So we first is to write the balanced chemical equation of this reaction, and from there we pick it up to get the volume of oxygen that is left in excess after the reaction. So let's go. So this is a reaction between hydrogen, okay, a reaction between hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. Of course, this will give us water vapor, okay. So let's try balancing the equation. Hydrogen is 2, 2. Oxygen is 1, while it's 2 here. So how do we make oxygen 2 here? We put 2 in front. Remember, please, in balancing chemical equations, you don't ever put a number behind, because if you do, you've changed the nature of that substance. You can only put the number in front, popularly called coefficients in math, okay? So I have to put the 2 here to make oxygen 2 and not behind. Shockingly, if I should put 2 behind here, I'm sorry, this has become hydrogen peroxide and no longer water, okay? All right, so doing this has also affected hydrogen. Hydrogen has become 4. So how do I make hydrogen 4? By putting 2 in front, okay? So I think the equation is balanced. Yes, it is. All right, so the volume ratio here, the volume ratio here is 2:1:2. The volume supplied, according to the question, is 8 cm cube of hydrogen and 20 cm cube of oxygen. As supply, nothing has happened. So the water vapor stays there with nothing. That's why I put a dash. Then the reactant volume, this is where the issue lies. The reactant volume, this is where we must be careful. For the reactant volume, it would be the ratio of the gas in question to that of the limiting reactant times volume of the limiting reactant. Let me say it again. For us to get the reactant volume for each of the substances, it will be ratio of the gas in question over that of the limiting reactant times the volume of the limiting reactant. So let's apply what I've said. So for the first one, hydrogen, the ratio is 2. The limiting reactant still remains hydrogen 2 times volume of the limiting reactant is what? 8. Okay. Then for oxygen, the ratio of oxygen is 1. The ratio of the limiting reactant is hydrogen 2 times volume of the limiting reactant, which is 8. Then for water, it will be 2, which is the ratio of water over the limiting reactant 2 times volume of the limiting reactant, which is 8. So if we do our math here, this will leave us with 8 cubic centimeters here. This will leave us with 4 cubic centimeters here, and this will leave us with 8 cubic centimeters. So the question asks for the volume of oxygen that is left or that is remaining, right? So volume remaining is simple. It will be the volume supplied minus the volume that reacted. So for hydrogen, it is 8 minus 8, which is 0. No wonder it is the limiting reactant, because everything on hydrogen is used up. That's why nothing is remaining, okay? Then for oxygen now, the volume remaining will be the volume supply, which is 20 minus the one that reacted, 4, leaving us with what? 16 cubic centimeters. So we've got our answer. So from here, our answer is D. All right, but let me finish this. For water vapor, the volume remaining will be 8 cubic centimeter. Remember, at supply, there was nothing here, so it will be 8 minus nothing, which is the same thing as 8 cubic centimeter. So Without wasting much of our time, our answer is D. But in case the question tilted to the direction of saying the volume of the residual gas, it will be 16 plus 8, which would have been something else, okay? Although that answer is not in the options, but that is not what they asked for. They only asked for volume of oxygen remaining, which is 15 cubic centimeters. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.